Hi there. In today's video, we're going to cover an introduction to involvement. Let's get started. The key concept that we're going to be covering today is that the way we evaluate and choose a product depends on our degree of involvement with the product, the marketing message, and or the purchase situation. So, what is consumer involvement? Involvement is defined as a person's perceived relevance of the object based on their inherent needs, values, and interest. Inertia is consumption at the low end of involvement, where we make decisions out of habit because we lack the motivation to consider alternatives. This could be like toothpaste. You always choose the same toothpaste brand because you're not really that involved with the product. It could also be laundry detergent. You make that decision out of habit. You buy the same laundry detergent because you lack the motivation to consider any alternatives because you've used that laundry detergent for a long time. You like it, and it's a product out of habit that you purchase. We also have cult products. These are products that command fierce consumer loyalty, devotion, and maybe even worship by consumers. Some examples of this are Apple, Harley Davidson, Jones Soda, Chick-fil-A, and there's also many sporting teams that people believe that are they command a fierce loyalty. Could be the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, Dallas Cowboys. Even despite maybe them not doing so well in a particular season or for a long period, they command fierce loyalty among their fans. And a large majority of consumers agree that they are willing to spend more for a brand when they feel a personal connection to that brand. So that's why cult products are so successful. I have a video on cult products that I'm going to post in your learning modules that I encourage you to watch because it's very interesting. It's on Jones Soda and explains their appeal to many of their consumers. So, some factors that influence involvement. One are personal factors. These are our needs, importance, interests, values associated with the individual. There's also object or stimulus factors. This is the differentiation, how different they are from alternatives, the communication that they put out, and the content of their communications. There's also situational factors, and this has to do with the purchase or use of the product and the occasion for the why the product is being purchased. In the video, they talk about certain on Jones Soda. They talk about different occasions that people purchase their soda for. And there's also, while there's different factors that influence involvement, there's different types of involvement. So there's three types of involvement that we're going to talk about. One is product involvement. This is the consumer's level of interest in a particular product. We also have message involvement. So this is the influence media vehicles have on the consumer. And then we have situational involvement. And this is the influence of a store, website, or location where people consume a product or service. With situational involvement, this can be increased through personalization in any way. So however a company is able to personalize a particular situation, they can improve situational involvement. We're going to talk about product and message involvement in more detail. Let's talk about product involvement and how marketers can increase product involvement for consumers. One way is through increasing perceived risk. Perceived risk has to do with a consumer believing that there may be negative consequences if he or she chooses the wrong option. So if there's more perceived risk associated with an item, they're going to have more product involvement because of the potential of negative consequences with that purchase. So with that, more product involvement is also going to mean that there's more brand loyalty. So consumers and marketers, they really try to increase brand loyalty among consumers. However, consumers sometimes want to engage in brand switching because of variety seeking. People like to try a variety of things, and some people like to try different things more than others. So with that, we may be less brand loyal because our notion of variety seeking. With product involvement, marketers can try to tie the brand to an individual, which will increase their involvement as well. And they can do this through mass customization. This is by personalizing products or services to individual consumers at a mass production price. So Jones Soda is an example of this. They can do this also through DIY, so the IKEA effect, we've talked about that previously, where if you build it yourself, that you're going to have more involvement with that product because you're actually doing part of the work. And for the mass customization example, Coke did a great job of this in the background, that they tried to tie and make to where Coca-Cola products had the name of whoever you wanted on that Coca-Cola bottle. We also can do this through co-creation. Lay's does this. We talked about that in a previous example, where getting consumers involved in the making of the product themselves. The last thing we're going to talk about besides perceived risk is message involvement. And marketers can increase message involvement through print advertising. So it may be counterintuitive, but print advertising is a higher involvement medium, whereas television is a low involvement medium. Consumers don't really have to be super involved with television. It's very low involvement. And we also have the notion of narrative transportation. This is where consumers become immersed in the storyline of an advertisement. So that's why narratives and having those stories really helps resonate with consumers and increases involvement through an ad. We also can increase message involvement by including celebrity endorsers. We can encourage viewers to think about actually using the product, and we can create spectacles where the message is itself a form of entertainment. So a lot of these also have to do go back to resonating in a consumer's memory. And so involvement, memory, learning, these things, they tie together. Modeling, it ties back to what we talked about before, and consumers become more involved with that message based on some of these characteristics. Now, I had mentioned perceived risk, and there's different types of perceived risk. One is monetary risk, the risk of losing money due to your choice. Functional risk, that the product isn't going to work as intended. Physical risk, that the product may hurt you in some way. Social risk, this is where individuals believe that by using a product or a service, it's actually going to damage self-esteem or confidence. And psychological risk is the loss of self-respect due to your bad decision. Maybe you have a gambling addiction and you keep on gambling. There's a psychological risk involved with that. It could also be the expensive luxury goods could cause the consumer to feel guilty because they spent something that's really not necessary, maybe beyond their means, and so it causes them psychological risk because of self-respect of purchasing something that they can't afford. So that covers us on involvement and how perceived risk is involved with involvement. If you have any questions on involvement and consumer behavior in general, please feel free to reach out to me at kmanus@nmsu.edu. Thanks.